I'd like to call the Furman Council work session order tonight for Monday, September the 21st, 2020. First item tonight on our agenda is vacation of streets. Matt?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is just an old policy that needs to be revised. We took a crack at it, went through it. The key points, removed a $100 application fee. It was removed in council code by town council in June 2020. Removal of, quote, engage in the services of a real estate appraiser, end quote. Over the years, an appraiser has been hard to find for government-owned land, and if one was found, the costs associated with it were extremely high. It is suggested to remove reference to the appraiser and have the town manager use the fair market value or contributory value of abutting property, whichever is greater. The third item was removal of second review of viewing committee. And then the last one was added, the town attorney's office shall execute and process final documents after final approval from council.
Any discussion in the council? No discussion? It's got to be put on as a public hearing, or can we
Consent agenda,
consent agenda? Okay.
is that good?
Yep, I guess.
Okay.
We're over cancel. There we go. Second item tonight is review of the FY21 revenues. Director Tyler?
Good evening. So, a few months ago, council requested that we put some money over into contingency and review the revenues monthly with town council as we move forward from the COVID. Happy to say that our revenues are doing pretty well. Enterprise funds are all tracking a little over budget. The general fund, we have some hit or misses there, but overall no huge concerns that stands out. Some of the shortages would be, seems like they're going to be taken up by others. Now what the future holds, I don't know that obviously, but over the next few months we'll be continuing to review those. The quarterly revenues that I discussed last month, we did receive the 599 funding for the police department. That come in right on target, right on budget, within 25 cents of the quarterly payment. The only quarterly payment that I'm still waiting on is the streets. I have no reason to believe that it won't come in at budget based on the information that I've received. The delinquent utility accounts, can give you a little bit of update on that. We're still tracking down on those as well. As of August 31st, we had 856 delinquent utility accounts, total of about $513,000, so we're still tracking down on that. As you see, back in May, we had 2,022 delinquent accounts, so bringing that down to 856 is doing really well. As far as the dollar figure wise, we went from 841,000 back in May down to 513,000. Usually track right around 400,000 or so, so we're pretty much down to our normal on that. I look for us to, over the next couple of months, we'll still see that continue to drop. The other thing we wanted to discuss was the use of the contingency funds with town council. The revenues are tracking, like I say, pretty well. So what staff was recommending is to go ahead and release the third year of the compensation study effective January 1st, and then have further discussions as you guys would like for releasing other funds, or continuing to hold on to them for a little bit longer, or just trying to get a little bit of a sense of what council's direction.
PJ, going back to the original, can you give us the amounts of each one of our departments' enterprise that's left in the contingency?
That's left in contingency.
Well, I mean, that, because nobody knows what we're talking about, really.
So, as of, let me see here, if I can find it. Okay. So, general fund, as it stood as of August 31st, is 1.3 million. Streets, 204,000. Electric, 1.1 million. Water, 791,000. Sewer, 491,000. And solid waste, 37,000. Let's see here. So overall total is roughly around 3 million.
Thank you.
And to release the second part, or the 6 months, of the compensation study, we would be looking at about $124,000. So relatively wouldn't have a big impact on the contingency funds.
So it's nothing that we have to take before the council and in a meeting tonight. This is all information.
It's information purposes, that's correct.
Sure.
We've discussed the possibility, Mr. Mayor and members of council, about possibly implementing the merit increases, and they wouldn't be implemented until January 1st if we recommended it today. So I thought it'd be wiser to wait a few more months to see if the impact of COVID, what it has on next few months of revenues. I think you can make that decision in December, and we can implement it if council decides to implement it. So I wanted to hold back on the merit piece, only for the approval of it, as far as getting it implemented. And then BJ, how about some of the other capital items? Anything in particular you wanted to mention?
So the capital items, one of the things that would be beneficial, obviously, is the message board that we have in the capital items. So that could surely be used, like with the leaves coming up. We usually use those for to direct traffic throughout town. I mean, there are certainly some capital items in here, but nothing that I feel is detrimental. It would be nice to go ahead and move forward with some of these items, obviously, as the year progresses. But that's certainly the council's discretion. I wouldn't have a problem advancing some of these. The way our revenue's set, we have a quarter of our fiscal years passed, so we can certainly dig into that a little bit more if council has a wish to release some more.
So all these things that were in the budget, we took them out and put them in contingency. And so if the money that was available, that's what we said, that we would bring it back and go begin to implement that particular item, whatever it was.
That's correct.
And so none of that needs any approval except over the big ticket items. Like
Yes,
25,000.
And that's correct. The town manager and I do have the ability to transfer the items from contingency. The big ticket items would obviously have to come back for council approval.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this?
Yes.
Jake?
Go ahead.
BJ, I'm trying to figure out in my head, I was hoping you could just help me make sense a little bit. You know, we heard from some business owners on Main Street not too long ago about how badly COVID impacted their business. In some cases brought it to a standstill, in some cases even closed their business. So I'm trying to reconcile in my head the businesses having an impact in their sales, but how we're continuing to trend on track with our budget and revenue in sales. Sales tax, lodging, meals. I mean, I know it's short here and there, but I guess, again, I'm just trying to reconcile how that's possible if so many town businesses are being impacted by COVID. And I can't tell if it's because of the flip of the fiscal year, and so part of that is cut off in 1 year and now we're starting another, or how, does that make sense?
Yeah, I see
and so
exactly
I'm trying
what
to figure
you're
out
getting
how
at. Very good question. Obviously lodging tax is down. The hotels have certainly been impacted. Meals tax.
But not as much as I would think.
And you're correct. I was expecting that to be quite a bit more. It is still, it's tracking lower, but not significantly lower.
And this year to date is the fiscal year?
Yes, that's correct.
So 10,000 doesn't seem like a lot.
And I agree. I was expecting that to be much, much lower. So some businesses may be more impacted than other businesses, obviously. Some businesses have changed their business plan to help accommodate the COVID-19. With the meals, our restaurants, some of the restaurants started delivering to the parking lot as we went through COVID and continue to. They've changed their business plans up, and some of them are doing very well. Along with the meals, we also have some new businesses that have come online here recently. Dunkin' Donuts, Sheets, some others. So that's certainly helped out because those were based on estimates, obviously. The sales tax may not be, people are still buying toilet paper.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess the way I look at this is even if we kept on trend, this is a pretty minor impact to our overall budget.
and I agree 100%. It is, it does indeed seem minor. And enterprise funds, they're still doing very well, overall. Even, citizens being at home, they're still using electric. Maybe some businesses
Those
aren't
kind of
using
make
as much.
sense to me. Like you said, I mean, people being home and everything. It's on
But,
the
overall, I'm not seeing a huge impact as I had anticipated. If you'd asked me this, a few months ago, I was thinking the worst, but I mean, overall, we're not doing bad at all.
Yeah, so that lines up with our lowest case, or lowest scenario that we, actually less than our lower
Very,
scenario.
yes.
Yeah, it's less.
Yeah, it's less.
Projected.
I mean, I think,
It can, I mean, I'm certainly
Things can
happy,
still-
but I'm just
right.
like looking at this being like, how's that possible?
The, something that, that we may encounter is, come March when business licenses become due, we may see a little bit of a decrease there for the business license, revenue. That's very hard, because that's a once a year kind of deal for us, and I don't have much to go off of, for those businesses as far as, income. So that we may see a bit of a decrease there, but, based on the other figures, I'm not expecting it to be a huge amount.
Okay.
BJ, excuse me, Bill, you want to ask a question?
I've been told by 2 county staff that we're to get 600,000+ from the CARES Act. Did we get it?
No, sir,
And all that came from the general fund.
that's correct.
it's actually gonna be closer to 873.
Yeah, so right around that amount, that's correct.
So it's 2 checks. They had issues on Friday. Thought they would get it to us today. We haven't received it yet. Nor have they approved the spending plan. We haven't heard any feedback other than they have issues with the
Peace out.
PSAP and the SCADA. So I said, well, so you got issues with the whole spending plan. So I haven't received any feedback.
What's the
Formal
issue
feedback.
with the first one?
I don't know, I don't know what their issue is. I mean, we justified it according to the CARES Act. We laid it out very specifically where in the CARES Act it could be spent. As it relates to the PSAP, other jurisdictions are using the CARES Act for the PSAP, including Shenandoah County, which is being advised by Jason Ham, the county attorney, but yet I'm hearing that they have issues with the town spending money in those 2 items. So we'll just continue to play the game and see what happens.
Well, I'm concerned about getting the $970,000.
As are we.
I mean, that came out of the general fund, so that'd boost your general fund back to where it was.
And you're correct. But we'll continue to communicate with the Warren County and
Mr. Mayor, may I ask, could you inquire what the holdup is?
I'll check tomorrow.
They told me that we were gonna get a check for 670,000,
That was just the
six
first,
something, and then
yeah.
they were holding that other one. I'm very concerned about that. They should be coming forth when they say they're gonna do it.
I'll check that out tomorrow.
Mr. Mayor, if you could also ask, if you don't mind, if they could put down in writing their objections. It's a lot of different players. They have a committee, they have Ed Daly, they have Rick Farrell. Rick Farrell calls BJ, this is what I'm hearing. I think we ought to get something more formal, specifically the issues they have with our spending plan, and then give us an opportunity to, educate them on
Respond anyway.
where in the care,
Yeah, and I'd also like to understand I certainly can appreciate the fact that there wants some checks and balances, even though I don't completely agree with to the extent that they've gone with it. But if we're completely liable, which we've signed agreements on, saying that if any of the CARES Act is spent in an inappropriate way, the town will fund or refund.
I need to correct you on Mr. Mezza, we never signed it, we didn't sign that.
We've offered to do it
We
though.
offered to.
We've offered to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We did.
But we
So
didn't.
we've offered to take complete liability for anything spent.
Correct.
Okay.
Like other jurisdictions around have done.
So I would like to reoffer that to say, I mean, if this is gonna continue to hold up, or even on the second round of funding, if they're concerned that those projects aren't gonna hold up, then let's take the liability for it and move on.
Well, we've offered that, and they want us to take the liability, and they want to have approved the spending plan, and they want us to spend the money out of our reserves, and they want us to submit the reports, and then they're gonna determine whether they're gonna reimburse us. So it's just very convoluted. I've done everything I could do to get it pushed through, but
Yeah, I understand that part. I guess if the mayor's gonna talk to him, about that and there's a delay in getting the funds, think about it this way. Had we not pulled from our general fund, that money still would be sitting
we
in
still
bank
wouldn't be
accounts.
spending it, right?
And that money would not be going to the businesses that needed it. So I completely stand behind our first decision, which was to distribute those funds. I think it was the right thing to do. I'm disappointed that we're not able to, get the funding reimbursed quicker, even though we are submitting all the documentation. But I just want to reiterate that we're willing to take the complete liability for a simple agreement that, we'll save and demonstrate all the appropriate documentation and
Which
share.
we've done. And duplicate and triplicate.
Right.
All they had to do was go to the administrative website. That's all they had to do. We could have given them simple administrative rights to take a look. Second, you send one big box of paper plus
Plus the thumb drive.
thumb drive, plus
Cancel checks in the
check,
files.
canceled checks, which we had to wait on. And the part that bothers me is other jurisdictions, such as counties, are giving to the town and city directly the funds now, but we're being penalized to take it out of our general fund, expend, and then we're jumping through hoops to prove to them we've done the right thing.
Yeah,
That troubles me.
No, I.
Now, they told me last week that we'd be seeing the money this week, or this past week. And now I'm here on Monday, and the first check hasn't been processed. So that really troubles me.
Has, Mr. Mayor, have they reached out to you at all to explain any reasons why?
No, I did talk to Walt Babe about it, and he gave me the same scenario that Bill's talking about, that a check would be sent over today possibly.
Rick Farrell did contact me on Friday and said that their accounts payable person was out, but we should have it beginning of this week. I did not receive it today.
Well, it is Monday.
That's correct.
Tuesday's still the beginning of the week.
Yeah, that's correct.
We'll be hopeful.
I did want to say too, thank you to staff for jumping through those hoops. I know it's a frustration, and I know that we went round and round on this in council, but in lieu of signing that agreement and allowing us to take the liability, make this simpler for everybody, I really wanted to commend staff for spending all that time and putting together all the documentation and still complying with what the county asked. And so I think it's an act of good faith. I think again, we did everything that was requested of us. So hopefully the check will come in an expeditious manner, and the second round of the CARES Act will be smooth as well. But it would be nice to have that communication in writing, as you suggested, Mr. Teeter.
I'll check tomorrow. Anything else? Anything else, BJ?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, BJ.
Thank you.
Thank you, BJ.
Okay, that completes our agenda except the closed meeting. Here, a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that town council go into closed meeting for following purposes. 1, with respect to the town manager's position, the discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotions, performance, salaries, and resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the public body pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.1 of the Code of Virginia. Number 2, with respect to the town's lawsuit against the EDA, consultation with legal counsel, and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigation posture of the public body. Probable litigation, meaning litigation that has been specifically threatened or on which the public body or its legal counsel has a reasonable basis to believe will be commenced by or against a known party pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.7 of the Code of Virginia. And number 3, regarding a town public alley, the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion and an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the town council pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.3.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank everybody for coming. We're gonna be going into closed meeting. Yeah, thank you for coming.
There you go.